are referring to.
Okay, next to Laurent Bartholomé with Agence France Presse.
Thanks for doing this. You have mentioned that the Arab forces have done the bulk of the fighting in the offensive against Raqqa. Is it your assessment that the Arab forces can actually seize the city, or will other forces, Kurdish or other, be necessary?
Well, look, we as a coalition have said all along that the Syrian Democratic Forces, with the Arabs as the absolute in the van of the fight, would be used to isolate Raqqa, and that's exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it very effectively. They're pushing the enemy back, they're writing down the enemy's capability, and they're closing in as we speak on the city of Raqqa, exactly as they said they would do. So those forces are proving themselves absolutely up for that fight. We've also always said that we would discuss with our partners in terms of who is best placed to conduct the actual liberation of Raqqa, and we'll do that. We'll have those conversations. But at this stage, the force that looks most likely to be capable to conduct the liberation of Raqqa remains the SDF. Are we confident in the SDF? Absolutely we are. We've seen their fighting spirit. We've seen what they're capable of doing. They retook Manbij, a very tough fight, and they prevailed in the face of a tough opposition. They're closing in on Raqqa, and we're confident that they'll be able to retake Raqqa when the time comes. Of course, with coalition support. That's what we're there to do.
Yep. But can only the Arab part of the SDF do this, or will it be necessary to have the Kurdish component too?
Well, that's slightly for the SDF to decide upon. You know, the SDF is if you like a total force, and it's made up of both Arabs and Kurds. As I've said to you, the bulk of the forces advancing on Raqqa are Arabs, but I said the bulk of the forces, not all of the forces. The Arabs and the Kurds absolutely work hand in glove, and my expectation is if the SDF are the assault force into Raqqa, that is how they'll operate. They'll work together in concert with each other, but the majority of the fighters will be Arabs, and we, the coalition, will be there to support them.
Thank you.
Next to Kasim Ileri with Anadolu News Agency.
Thanks for doing this, General. My question will be about Raqqa. We know that the Russians and Syrian regime are fighting ISIS around Deir ez-Zor, closing the routes between Raqqa and Deir ez-Zor. Can we say that there is a tacit cooperation between the SDF and the regime in Russians in isolating Raqqa?
Could you say, I got the bulk of the question, just the last few bits I didn't get. The heart of the question. I got all the context. Can you just repeat the last bit?
Can you say that there is a tacit cooperation between the Syrian regime forces backed by Russians and the SDF in isolation of Raqqa?
Okay, thank you. So look, we are focused on the defeat of Daesh. That's what we're getting on with. We're working very closely with our partners in both Iraq and Syria, the SDF in the case of Syria. Of course, there are plenty of other actors operating in Syria, not least, of course, as you say, the regime and the Russian forces. But in terms of the fight for Raqqa, that fight is absolutely focused at the moment on the SDF and the coalition effort. The effort you're referring to by the regime down in Deir ez-Zor is a substantial different distance from Raqqa, and we wouldn't envisage it influencing the battle for Raqqa at this stage.
Last week, Colonel Dorian said that to cover up the southern flank of Raqqa, you guys are trying to build up capacities down in the southern flank of the city. Can you update us on what's going on in the southern parts of the city right now? How do you plan to cover up that area as you apparently don't have forces on that part?
Well, look, there's plenty of ways you can isolate a city. You can isolate it with forces. You can isolate it with a river, and there is a river south of Raqqa, and you can isolate it through fires. So, look, I'm not going to go into the details of the plan. You would respect why I don't want to do that, but I'm confident we can isolate Raqqa, and that the Daesh fighters there are under the cosh. We're bringing in fires increasingly. We're shaping that enemy. We're striking his command and control. We're striking his leaders. We're striking his fighters. We're striking his logistics. We're preparing the ground for when the attack on Raqqa happens. And I'm pretty confident the enemy will feel isolated.